It's time for the ultimate battle. We're going to talk about the Sinden computer controlled light gun and of course the Gun4ir. Which one is the best one? But nevertheless, I think the most important question is like which product is fitting your need perfectly. I grew up with light guns and I've played a lot with them. For example with Time Crisis on the PlayStation. And there were many other like great shooters. But unfortunately with CRTs going away from our gaming rooms, it's going to be quite difficult to play just with a light gun. Especially when you're having like old school systems. And combined with emulation we have like so many cool options, even more than we had back in the day. But when it also comes with the way you can play, there we do have like a lot of differences. But in this video I want to focus especially on the Gun4ir and the Sinden light gun. But let's talk about the Gun4ir and what are we going to get with these models. I already did a completely full review about it, but I just wanted to give you a quick recap. So this is the Gun4ir, the Nemco Gun 1. So this thing comes including rumble but also a solenoid built in. And when it comes to the solenoid, there we have like a very cool feature, something I really love. The solenoid is very strong but also needs a separate power supply. Okay guys, so the first gun I'm going to try is the G-Con. This is with the rumble function. And then we have the solenoids in the inside. So let's choose a game. Let's choose a mission 1, Bug Hunt. You can already hear it makes quite a lot of noise. You can adjust it in the software itself. So you have like less noise. So if you want to adjust that. But what I really like about the solenoids in general, that we do get the same experience that we had with the original game. Of course we don't have like a used machine gun now, but we do have like the same experience. I think it's pretty damn cool. Have all the function, flamethrower, grenade, everything that we're going to get in the original game. And then of course we're having the model number 2. This only comes with a rumble feature, but this thing does have like more option when it comes to the controls. Playing around with the G-Con 1, now try the other version, G-Con 2. And of course it's absolutely a different experience because it just feels way different in your hand. We have like different buttons to reload, use all the extra settings. And again, like it's so much lighter than the other one. Okay, so next up I want to try a Wii game with the G-Con 2. So in this game everything will be automatically, if you're going to point out of the screen you can basically reload. But before we even can use the light guns, we need to do a little bit of assembly and connecting it to the PC. So the first thing that we need to do is of course assemble the LEDs that we need to place on the monitor. The LEDs have been already pre-soldered, so you don't need to do anything like that. It's just more like putting it on your monitor and plug it in with the USB with barrel jack connection cable. For this video I'm using the 27-inch monitor from Philips. You can basically use all kinds of monitor. If it's an old Dell monitor or you want to use a 40-inch television, it's no problem whatsoever. I did get some double-sided high quality tape, but I'm using the poster clays because of the form factor of my monitor. It was not like super easy to put them on here. So I basically got these poster clays. I don't know if you can buy them in every single country, but they are like dirty cheap and can position the sensors perfectly. But the poster clays is just one of those epic ways. You can put them on your monitor super easy and they don't fall off that easily. But again, there are many ways to put them on your television. So this is basically for when it comes to the Gun4ir. So let's take a close look at the Sinden light guns. The Sinden light guns, I must say that I really love this thing for what it can do, but it has a completely different technology. So we have like some cool features like the pumping action, like reload, what I personally really like, simply because this thing is great, like just the way how it actually plays, but also how it feels, the option with the buttons. So, but also it comes with built-in solenoid, but also the solenoid is different, and we only have one USB you need to plug in and no separate power supplies. But that's something we're going to talk about it later on. So let's take a close look at the technology and what you can do with it. So what I understand of there are basically like 3 kind of, let's say, colors you can pick up. The blue and the red one. And then we have like the black edition. I must say I personally really like it. Like for me it was a very difficult choice which color I want to have. But for me the red and the blue is a little more like arcade feeling that I had with some of the arcade machines back in the day. But nevertheless, I did try the non-recoil version, and I can tell you it plays just as fun like the recoil version. But again, you don't have like the clicking sound, and the experience in overall is slightly different when it comes to the one with the recoil. But again, it's more like a personal thing which one you should pick up. That is something that you need to decide. The blue version over here, I personally really love blue. Blue is my favorite color. But the thing is, like, how is actually like this thing playing? So the thing is, like, without a recoil, I think it's also like a different, let's say, experience. But for the people who just want to have a light gun and just want to have like not like all of the noise, I completely understand. So we're going to get ourselves like the D-pad over here. They can configure in your emulators, 2 side buttons over here, and at the right we're going to get another 2. I really love these buttons. Give it like a very like nice touch to it. The trigger is a very nice clickish micro switch underneath. I personally really love it, the way how it feels and how it holds. And again, like the pumping of the shotgun, one of my favorite features of this thing. If you're going to play, let's say, in House of the Dead, you want to play it like that, or you can just give it like some different, let's say, features. But let's talk about that. But a great example is like when you're going to play some Time Crisis, you do need a pedal or at least pressing a button for getting into the action. This game has been configured with the, let's say, shotgun loading. I think it's a very cool, convenient way to play like that. The first controller I ever owned, or the light gun, was the Namco one with Time Crisis 1. I did a video about this, and I must say, like, it was such a blast to the past with this thing. And when you're looking at the Sinden, it looks kind of similar in some ways. I must say, like, when you're looking at the comfortability, they even improved it with the Sinden, where you have like a very flat surface over here. It doesn't like is holding it very, let's say, poorly. It's just like these tiny things they improve. Have like some curves over here, and you have just like a little bit better grip. Of course, this doesn't have any recoil whatsoever, so when it comes to the weight, it's like weighing almost nothing. And again, that can be very comfortable for some people who don't like to have like a very heavy gun. Later on, we're going to do a side-by-side comparison when it comes to, let's say, the weight. But again, it gives you like an idea, like I already mentioned, like this thing is better and more comfortable, but it's also very heavier. If you don't want to have the heavy part, I think you need to buy one without a recoil, because it will save up a lot of weight. A feature the Sinden doesn't have is the recoil, like the old school games. I also did a video about this real arcade gun in combination with Time Crisis. It was a lot of fun, and as a child I also owned this. I think it was a little bit of the end of the lifespan of the PlayStation. Everything was getting dirty cheap, and I picked it up for not a lot of money. And as a child I had so much fun with this. Like, it gives a little bit of an arcade feeling. Of course, it's not like the same recoil like the, let's say, original light guns back in the arcades, but it was like absolutely better. When you're listening to this, like trigger button, it feels so cheap compared with the Sinden light guns. Like the feel is both not bad, of course, but it is so different. But again, the real arcade gun, they just make a full video about it, and it was so much fun also playing with this. And again, when you're comparing it with the Sinden, it's just like a different experience. And again, oh boy, and this thing makes a shitload of noise. Was the experience compared with light guns for Gun4ir or the older models? I'm just gonna be honest, like when you're going to get yourself like an old school super jolt gun, it's going to be a completely different experience, especially when you're looking at the new generation, like new technology light guns. We're having so more better features. For example, with the older one, we have like the recoil, like the ones like the arcade, but having a built-in solenoid is such a different experience, and in many cases a positive experience. Also, the accuracy of these light guns are pretty damn amazing, even if you're like having a Sinden or just a Gun4ir, but there are some particular things that you need to take consideration. So there we have it. So basically there are like the two different versions we're having here. So both will use their own kind of technology. And the question remains how you're going to implement this in your machine. Let's say your arcade machine or in your game room. So where we're having like this very cool technology that works very well with the sensors on your television. It does come with, let's say, the negative thing that you need to put the sensors on it. You need to have like separate juice. So yeah, that is a thing where we're having like the Sinden light gun that basically has like the border around the screen. That is absolutely working great, but the unfortunate thing is sometimes you need to mess around with the light in your room because it doesn't recognize it perfectly. That is a downside to this, where this Gun4ir doesn't have that problem at all. You can just play it in the dark with lights on. You know, like that is like a very positive but also negative thing. So they're having like the positive and the negative when it comes to the technology and how we can use it. Another thing you need to take consideration is that the Gun4ir, especially with the solenoids, needs a power supply. That's the negative, or it's like a smaller negative thing. You know, like the old days, back in the days, we have like the one with the recoil, you had the same thing. You have this clunky like extra cable with a power supply. But the thing is, it also have like a positive side because the solenoid is super strong. And if you're going to play some games like Alien and you need to shoot all the time, the solenoid goes crazy and it is very active. Where we have with the Sinden light gun, I did notice something. The Sinden has, by the way, a really long cable. I really love it. They did a good job at that. But there is, as you can see, like no external, like a power supply, you need to implement it. So what I understand of this technology, there is a solenoid in the inside, and sometimes you notice when you're going to shoot a lot, you will notice like the recoil will slow down. It's something like not a big of a deal in my opinion, but the thing like when you're going to compare it, especially with this, yeah, there we're going to get like a major difference. So that is a thing you need to take consideration when it comes to the technology. Another thing I personally really love is the way how it reloads. So the reason why I basically wanted to do a side-by-side comparison with these is just simply because of one simple reason, because the guns look alike. Like it may like the way how the form factor is and how it is. But let's take a close look at the weight and let's do like a quick match with that. Okay, so let's take a close look at the weight of the Gun4ir. This one weighs 374, and let's take a close look at the Sinden version. This one weighs 542. So boy, man, this thing weighs way heavy, and you can just feel it in the hand. And for people just like really curious, no cheating, no cheating, no cheating. Very good. And now let's grab the version number 2. This thing is super lightweighted, only 230 grams. But of course it's normal because there is no solenoid. And again, it's not like it's cheap, lightweighted or something like that. But I just wanted to say, and just wanted to show you. That are the differences when it comes to the weight between the number 2, the number 1, and of course this Sinden light gun. But let's bring this model to the battle. And the reason why, because it does have like a very cool feature. So to begin with, I really love the light gun, or basically the original light gun, because I have a D-pad. So you have like more option when it comes to being in the emulator, for example. Then we're having a button over here at the left and the right, and even like some additional rubberized buttons over here. So we are having a lot of, like say, things you can basically map into the emulator. And that is the thing that I really personally love it. I would say like, basically if I should like get them again, I would like get like two of these, because they are lightweighted, and get a solenoid in here, but simply because we have all the function buttons. So personally, it's like having 3 different ways to play when it comes to like Gun4ir or Sinden. So what we do love about the Namco, this one lays very nice in hand. It's kind of big, so if you have like small hands, it's not going to be super comfortable. Another thing, we have no D-pad and we have only like 2 buttons. So yeah, the 2 buttons in my opinion, it works, but still like a lot of games, we just need to have like more buttons. And then of course we're having the Sinden, and this is more like why I do have like a very big like positive thing to the Sinden. It's just this like this reload. I love it. I love to play House of the Dead or some games that having like a shotgun. You can just have like a semi-shotgun idea when actually playing that game. We have like 2 buttons at the left, 2 buttons at the right, and or left right, just said it wrong, but you know, right left. And then of course we're having here the D-pad. So when it comes to the functions, like it's like quite similar to this version over here, like the Gun 2, and that is what I really love about the Sinden. But again, like a different technology. Also, when you're looking at the trigger, you can just hear it. We're having like differences, but I think this is more like a personal thing. We're having like a very noticeable like switch in the Gun 1 in here from the Gun4ir. It's less notable with the number 2, but when you're looking at the Sinden, you cannot really hear it at all almostly. So I don't think what I really like about it. So yeah, there are a lot of positive things when it comes to the Sinden. Yeah, and the weight, man. Like if you don't like a really like heavy, let's say light gun, yeah, you should get yourself like this one. This is very lightweighted, and that is very comfortable maybe for a lot of people. And not to forget, the reload at the bottom. But again, that is another thing. The conclusion is that all of these light guns are always like very expensive for like a lot of people. Because if you're like looking into the old stuff, like you're getting an old gun con with a PlayStation 1, with a CRT, maybe that's even cheaper to get one of these things. But that's the thing, like what do you want to do with it? If you want to have like a light gun, you can play every single game on emulation. I think we have like great options. Yeah, I did say in my main review, this thing is unaffordable. Like some people didn't really agree with me. But the reason I said affordable, simply when you're looking at the Gun4ir, compare with the Sinden. Sinden is in many ways still very cheap for what you're going to get when it comes to, let's say, the reload and everything you can do with it. So again, like it's more like how big of your budget is, and of course the personal thing you want to have. You want to have like solenoid, you want to have rumble. It's all up to you. These are like the differences between the, let's say, the light guns. Let me know in the comments which of the three do you really like. Thanks for watching. I hope this video helped out. Subscribe to the channel, and it would be great to see you in the next video.